For privacy reasons, names and places have been changed. This story is inspired by true events.
On the night of September 14, 1998, the Nakamura family, father Kenji, 44, mother Yuki, 41, and their children Hiroshi, 16, and Mei, 13, disappeared from their home in the coastal town of Shimoda on Japan's Izu Peninsula. The family had been preparing for the annual autumn festival when they vanished without a trace, leaving behind their evening meal half-finished and no signs of struggle. Local police conducted extensive investigations throughout the tight-knit fishing community but found no explanation for the mysterious disappearance. For 10 years, their fate remained unknown while the case became one of Shizuoka Prefecture's most perplexing missing persons mysteries. Then, in December 2008, construction workers renovating an abandoned warehouse in a neighboring town made a shocking discovery that would finally reveal what had happened to the Nakamura family on that autumn night a decade earlier. This is the complete story of their disappearance and the hidden tragedy that had been concealed in plain sight for 10 years. September 14, 1998, had been a typical day in Shimoda, a picturesque fishing town on the Izu Peninsula known for its historic significance and beautiful coastal scenery. The Nakamura family operated a small fishing boat business that had been in Kenji's family for 3 generations, serving both commercial fishing operations and tourist excursions during the busy summer season. Kenji Nakamura was well respected in the local fishing community, known for his skill as a boat captain and his dedication to maintaining the traditional methods that had sustained Shimoda's maritime economy for centuries. His wife Yuki managed the business's administrative duties while also working part-time at the local elementary school where their daughter Mei was a student. Their son Hiroshi was a responsible teenager who helped with the family business after school and during weekends, learning the fishing trade that he was expected to eventually inherit. Mei was an excellent student who showed particular aptitude for mathematics and science, subjects that her parents hoped would provide opportunities beyond the traditional fishing economy. The family lived in a traditional wooden house near Shimoda's harbor, a location that allowed Kenji easy access to his boat while providing the children with a short walk to their schools. Their home was part of a close-knit neighborhood where families had known each other for generations and where unusual activities were quickly noticed by observant neighbors. On September 14th, the family had spent the day preparing for the town's annual autumn festival, scheduled for the following weekend. Yuki had been cooking traditional foods while the children helped with decorations and festival preparations that would showcase Shimoda's cultural heritage to visitors from throughout the region. The evening of September 14th began normally, with the family gathering for dinner around 7 p.m. as was their custom. Neighbor Tomoko Sato later told investigators that she had seen lights in the Nakamura house and heard normal family conversation through the thin walls that characterized the older homes in their neighborhood. Yuki had prepared a special meal featuring fresh fish that Kenji had caught that morning, along with rice and vegetables from their small garden. The family's routine was well established and predictable, with dinner followed by television viewing and preparation for the next day's activities. Around 8:30 p.m., Mrs. Sato noticed that the Nakamura house had become unusually quiet, though lights remained on throughout the building. While this wasn't particularly alarming, she later recalled thinking it was earlier than the family typically retired for the evening, especially with festival preparations still ongoing. The last confirmed observation of normal activity at the Nakamura house came around 9 p.m., when another neighbor saw lights in the kitchen area and assumed the family was cleaning up after their evening meal. No sounds of distress or unusual activity were reported by any of the neighbors who lived in close proximity. When Kenji failed to appear at the harbor by 5:30 a.m. on September 15th for his scheduled fishing departure, other fishermen initially assumed he was ill or dealing with boat maintenance issues. However, when he hadn't appeared by 7 a.m. and didn't respond to phone calls, concerned colleagues went to check on the family. The discovery of the empty Nakamura house immediately raised alarm throughout the small fishing community. The front door was unlocked, lights were still on throughout the house, and the family's dinner remained half-finished on the kitchen table, suggesting they had been interrupted during their evening meal. More puzzling was the complete absence of any signs of struggle or forced entry. Personal belongings, including wallets, identification documents, and house keys, were found exactly where family members would normally leave them. The house appeared as if the family had simply vanished in the middle of their normal evening routine. Shimoda Police Station received the initial report at 8:15 a.m. from fisherman Ichiro Tanaka, who had discovered the abandoned house while checking on his colleague's absence. Detective Inspector Masato Fujiwara took charge of the investigation and immediately began interviewing neighbors and examining the house for evidence. The investigation revealed that all of the family's vehicles were properly parked and locked, ruling out the possibility that they had departed voluntarily for an unplanned trip. Their fishing boat was secure at its mooring, and no unusual activity had been observed at the harbor during the night. Initial searches focused on the immediate neighborhood and coastal areas, as investigators considered the possibility that the family had suffered an accident while walking near the water or had encountered some emergency that required them to leave home quickly without taking personal belongings. The search operation expanded rapidly to include police units from neighboring towns and specialized teams experienced in coastal rescue operations. The Izu Peninsula's complex geography, with its rocky coastline and dense forests, provided numerous areas where a family might become lost or trapped. Helicopter overflights of the coastal areas revealed no evidence of the missing family, though the region's challenging terrain made comprehensive aerial searching difficult. Ground teams systematically checked beaches, hiking trails, and remote areas where the family might have traveled for reasons unknown to investigators. The investigation examined the family's personal relationships and financial situation for any indication of problems that might explain their disappearance. Interviews with friends, colleagues, and school officials revealed no conflicts, debts, or circumstances that might motivate the family to disappear voluntarily. Detective Fujiwara's team also investigated the possibility of criminal activity, though violent crime was extremely rare in Shimoda's peaceful community. Background checks revealed no enemies or threats against the Nakamura family, and no suspicious strangers had been reported in the area. The case generated significant media attention throughout Shizuoka Prefecture and beyond, as the mysterious disappearance of an entire family captured public imagination and concern. Tips and reported sightings poured in from across Japan, though none provided concrete evidence about the family's whereabouts. Throughout 1999 and 2000, the investigation continued with periodic searches and follow-up on new tips or reported sightings. The Nakamura house was maintained exactly as it had been found, with the half-finished dinner preserved as evidence and the family's belongings left undisturbed. Extended family members and friends organized volunteer search efforts, distributing flyers and maintaining public awareness of the case throughout the region. The mystery became part of local folklore, with various theories emerging about what might have happened to the beloved fishing family. In 2001, human remains found on a remote beach initially raised hopes for resolution, but forensic analysis determined they belonged to an unidentified individual who had died much earlier and were unrelated to the Nakamura case. Such discoveries occasionally renewed attention to the investigation but didn't provide breakthrough evidence. The case was featured in several Japanese television programs about unsolved mysteries, generating additional tips and maintaining public interest in finding answers. However, despite extensive investigation and public attention, no concrete evidence emerged about the family's fate. Professional psychics and spiritual advisors offered their services to help locate the missing family, reflecting the desperation of those hoping for answers. While these unconventional approaches were sometimes pursued by family members, they produced no useful information that advanced the investigation. By 2005, 7 years after the disappearance, active search efforts had largely ceased, though the case remained officially open and investigators continued to follow up on credible tips or new information. The Nakamura house had been sold to relatives who maintained it as a memorial to the missing family. December 8, 2008, began as a renovation day at a warehouse complex in Atami, a larger town approximately 30 kilometers from Shimoda. The building had been abandoned since the early 1990s following the collapse of a seafood processing company that had operated there during Japan's economic boom years. Construction supervisor Hiroshi Watanabe was overseeing the conversion of the warehouse into modern commercial space when workers encountered structural problems that required extensive excavation around the building's foundation. The work revealed that the building had been constructed over older foundations and contained basement areas that weren't shown on available architectural plans. Around 2:15 p.m., while excavating in what appeared to be a sealed basement room, construction worker Takashi Morimoto discovered human remains along with personal items that appear to have been there for many years. The basement room had been completely sealed off from the main building and showed no signs of recent access. The discovery prompted immediate notification of Atami police, who recognized that the remains might be related to one of several missing persons cases from the region. Within hours, the construction site was secured as a potential crime scene and forensic specialists were summoned to examine the evidence. Forensic analysis conducted by Shizuoka Prefecture Police confirmed that the remains found in the sealed basement belonged to Kenji, Yuki, Hiroshi, and Mei Nakamura. Personal items including identification documents, jewelry, and clothing definitively linked the discovery to the family that had disappeared from Shimoda 10 years earlier. The investigation revealed that the Nakamura family had been killed and their bodies concealed in the warehouse basement, which had then been sealed to hide evidence of the crime. The sophisticated concealment suggested that whoever was responsible had access to construction equipment and knowledge of the building's structure. Evidence found at the scene indicated that the family had been transported to the warehouse after being abducted from their home in Shimoda. The condition of their remains and personal items suggested they had been killed shortly after their disappearance in September 1998. The warehouse's ownership history became a crucial focus of the investigation. Records showed that the building had been owned by Yamamoto Seafood Processing, a company that had business relationships with several Shimoda fishing operations, including arrangements to purchase fish from independent boat operators like Kenji Nakamura. Further investigation revealed that Yamamoto Seafood Processing had been involved in illegal activities including tax evasion and connections to organized crime groups that controlled parts of Japan's seafood industry during the 1990s. The company had declared bankruptcy in 1999, shortly after the Nakamura family's disappearance. The investigation focused on Ryuji Yamamoto, the company's former owner, who had fled Japan in 1999 amid allegations of financial crimes and had been living in Southeast Asia under various assumed identities. Yamamoto was tracked down by international law enforcement and extradited to Japan to face charges related to the Nakamura family's murders. Under interrogation, Yamamoto confessed that he had ordered the family's kidnapping and murder after Kenji Nakamura had discovered evidence of illegal activities involving the seafood processing company. Kenji had threatened to report the illegal operations to authorities, creating a threat that Yamamoto decided to eliminate. According to Yamamoto's confession, the family had been abducted from their home by hired criminals who transported them to the warehouse, where they were killed to prevent them from exposing the company's illegal activities. The basement room had been sealed immediately after the murders to conceal the evidence. The confession revealed that the Nakamura family's disappearance had been carefully planned to look like a voluntary departure or accident, with the sealed basement serving as a long-term concealment strategy that had successfully hidden the crime for 10 years. Additional evidence supported Yamamoto's confession, including financial records showing payments to known criminals during September 1998 and construction records indicating that the basement room had been sealed shortly after the family's disappearance. The resolution of the Nakamura family's case brought closure to the Shimoda community and extended family members who had spent 10 years wondering about their fate. While learning that they had been murdered was devastating, the knowledge that justice could finally be served provided some comfort to those who had loved them. The case highlighted the dangers that honest individuals could face when they encountered criminal activities, particularly in industries where organized crime had established influence. Kenji Nakamura's commitment to honest business practices had ultimately cost his entire family their lives. Construction supervisor Watanabe and his team were recognized for their immediate notification of authorities when they discovered the remains. Their professional response ensured that evidence was properly preserved and that the decade-old crime could finally be prosecuted. The warehouse where the family was found was demolished after the investigation concluded, with the site converted into a memorial park honoring the Nakamura family's memory. The memorial serves as a reminder of both their tragic fate and the importance of protecting those who stand up against criminal activities. Ryuji Yamamoto was convicted of multiple murder charges and sentenced to life imprisonment. Several of his associates were also arrested and prosecuted for their roles in the kidnapping and murder conspiracy, though some suspects had died or disappeared during the intervening years. The Nakamura family's story serves as both a tragedy and an important reminder of the deadly consequences that can result from challenging criminal organizations, even when motivated by honest intentions and civic responsibility. Kenji's discovery of illegal activities had led to the destruction of his entire family. The 10-year delay in discovering their fate illustrates how effectively criminal organizations can conceal evidence when they have resources and planning capabilities. The sealed basement had hidden the crime completely until construction work accidentally exposed the concealment. For Japanese law enforcement, the case provided crucial lessons about the intersection of organized crime and legitimate businesses, particularly in industries where criminal influence had been historically significant. Improved protection programs for witnesses and whistleblowers were developed partly in response to this tragedy. The persistence of the Shimoda community in maintaining attention to the case contributed to the recognition of the construction discovery as potentially significant when the remains were found. Their 10 years of hoping for answers ensured that appropriate investigation was conducted. The case demonstrates how ordinary citizens who discover criminal activities can face deadly retaliation from organized crime groups willing to use extreme violence to protect their operations. The Nakamura family's fate highlighted the need for better protection of potential witnesses. Construction and renovation work continues to occasionally expose evidence of historical crimes throughout Japan, with workers now trained to recognize and report suspicious discoveries. The intersection of construction work and criminal investigation provided the breakthrough that solved this decade-old case. As of 2008, new protocols require better documentation and investigation of abandoned industrial properties, ensuring that potential crime scenes are properly examined before renovation work begins. The Nakamura family's case established procedures that help expose concealed crimes and provide justice for victims. Their legacy lives on through improved witness protection programs and the continued efforts to combat organized crime influence in legitimate businesses, while their story serves as a powerful reminder of the courage required to stand up against criminal activities and the tragic consequences that such courage can sometimes entail.